Hi Mark, it's great to speak with you. As we know, 2 men were arrested earlier this year on suspicion of spying for Beijing, and one man was a parliamentary researcher with close links to senior Conservatives. What do you make of this?
I think it's very troubling if it is true, and I think we have to remember that he has not been charged. He's just been arrested and detained, and so we're waiting to see if he is actually charged. But I think it shows how easy it is for anyone to enter the higher levels of politics and disrupt or delay processes. And I think that's quite dangerous, and it's bad for our democracy. It's certainly frightening for human rights activists. I know that I've had concerned calls from other Hong Kongers who said, "You've introduced me to this person, am I now at risk?" So it's created confusion, it's created a bit of fear, and once again it simply shows that the government is not taking the risk of China seriously, and that much more needs to be done to protect Parliament, MPs, and obviously democracy and advocacy campaigners.
And this researcher has said via his lawyers that he's completely innocent. Your thoughts on that?
If he hasn't been charged, and until he's charged, I'm happy to accept that defense. He has obviously the right to say that he's innocent. I've met him. I always thought he was a very nice person. I never had any gripe with him whatsoever. It's disappointing that he's connected to this. But if he says he's innocent, until he's charged, he's allowed that position.
What kind of security measures do you think could be put in place?
Well, I think there have to be regular checks on staff who are working in Parliament, what they're doing, who they work with, their workloads and so on. I know that increases bureaucracy, and it'll be a complete nuisance to people working in Parliament. But I think the government as a whole has to look back at its strategy of dealing with China. Is China actually a threat? What tools is it using to target the United Kingdom? A threat isn't only through military means. It can also be using its soft power, encouraging people to work on your behalf in colleges or campuses, through Confucius Institutes, through investment in academic buildings and so on. And so there are many, many ways in which influence can be spread across our democracy.
And how do we know who to trust after all of this?
It's very difficult, and it's very frustrating, because obviously you build networks, you trust people, you hope that they work in your best interests. We work with a lot of activists from around the world. We work with a lot of Hong Kongers, and we trust that those people who work in positions where they have access to senior politicians become our allies. We need to speak to senior politicians. We need to brief them and advise them and educate them. And trust is broken very, very easily with incidents like this. So it's certainly worrying. It's also frustrating and sad that these links and this trust is broken.
And what does this scandal mean for the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak?
Well, once again, it shows that he's completely out of step with what politicians want and with what Secret Service wants. The Security Committee made a report saying China is a threat. Foreign Affairs Committee said we have to look at the way things work for security. And in the meantime, Rishi Sunak and James Cleverly are just chanting away about how brilliant business is with China. We're okay with trading with China. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is absolutely no need to risk national security for a trade deal.
And Sunak has said that China is a systemic threat previously. So do you think his China policy will change?
I mean, he seems to be committed wholly to making sure that China is not considered a threat. He said it previously, but I don't think he thinks that now. James Cleverly came from Beijing, where although he was very proud of the fact that he mentioned Hong Kong and Uyghurs and Jimmy Lai, he was also incredibly proud of all the trade deals that he made and shaking hands with people who are responsible for crackdowns. So they're playing a very, very bizarre game. It's an incoherent strategy. They can't decide what to do. And this sort of confusion is only good for the CCP, and it's terrible for civil society and for the United Kingdom.
Well, Mark Sabah, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.